midnight are subject to arrest for trespassing. Washington Square Park closes at midnight as per New York City law. Persons who elect to remain in the park past midnight are subject to arrest for trespassing.
And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Jo Marie Musi.
Jerry Bordeleau is our guest. That was probably the first time we ever played the theme song all the way through.
Did we make it through the whole
We
thing?
made it through, and I got the background up because I wanted to show you first the 2-minute clip at the very beginning of the show, and I hope most of the viewers out there saw that, and then we were struggling to get, and did successfully get, the feed from livestream.com global revolution of what's going on right now down at Zuccotti Park and Occupy Wall Street. So if you were watching at the very beginning of the show and the video, that is a 2-minute video, maybe I'll play that again later, that we showed, we had Jerry, who was right there at the very beginning of it, and he was there.
And the first part was in Times Square.
It was in Times Square,
yeah,
yes.
And then the second part was in Washington Square Park.
The last part of it,
yeah.
yes.
When they're saying you have to leave the park, that's Washington Square.
Right, that was later the same night. So the beginning was what was the incredible sight, really, of the officers pushing the demonstrators back and using quite strong and violent means to do that, and then coming in with the horses and charging into the crowd.
And of course, let's make it clear, too, that wasn't the only incident. Paul has video of other incidents that happened in Times Square involving the police pushing, hitting the protesters.
The whole deal.
It was really quite something.
And as you can see in the video, to my right was Democracy Now! Producer Amy Goodman, and to my left was Jerry Bordeleau, who was right there, and I noticed was wearing his Iraq Veterans Against the War
So is that how you
t-shirt.
guys met?
Yes.
Yes.
Although I had seen you before in your military uniform. And so as you're an Iraq vet, Jerry, right?
Yes, I am.
And you fought in Iraq, or what did you do when you were in Iraq? What branch of the service? And
Well, I was in the Army, and my MOS, which is stands for Military Occupational Specialty, was military police.
oh, I see. So you were a cop down there. That was your job.
I was like a cop.
Right.
Military police is not exactly like civilian police. I mean, there is a law enforcement role that military police does play, but there's also a more combat-oriented role that military police plays, and that is the basic kind of tactics that we apply in the combat zone.
Oh, wow. So when you're a military police officer, are you enforcing the law against other soldiers, or do you enforce the law as far as the local citizens in Iraq?
Well, when we're on post stateside or on any of our peacetime international bases, if what we're performing is what we call a law and order duty, then yes, our job is to make sure that other soldiers are abiding by the law. In combat, we can do that as well with the local citizens if they are, for example, not doing what they're supposed to, or they're carrying weapons that they're not supposed to. Then yes, we have the right to detain them
and arrest them in the same way and bring them to a court. Is there a court of justice there that handles it?
Not necessarily. If we were to detain somebody, we would try to get information on them and see if they are, I guess you could say, like involved in any terrorist activity. And if they are, then we'll keep them.
I see.
And process them fully.
Interesting.
Now, what made you decide to join the Iraq Veterans Against the War? Like, at what point, was it during the time you were in service? Was it after you got out that you started to feel disillusioned with what was going on over there?
Well, during my last tour in Iraq, there was times when I was thinking about, because that was my second time over there.
Oh, okay.
And I was trying to observe if there was any positive change in Iraq, and I felt personally that nothing had changed in a positive manner. I felt that things were pretty much the same, and that the country really wasn't getting any more stable, even though their military and police forces were showing improvement in capacity and efficiency in the way they were functioning. But I just kind of felt like, after all, I mean, we were supposed to be bringing these democratizing ideals to the Iraqi people, but at the same time, I feel like that was just kind of like a story made up, just so that way we can send our government can send our military to Iraq, so that way, you know, these major corporations just go there and, you know, abuse these people and take advantage of their natural resources. And that's how I felt, and that's how I felt that, okay, this is what we were doing here after all. And from that point on, I just developed this very anti-war stance. And when I was discharged from the military, I decided that I wanted to become part of an anti-war movement. And I felt that the more actual veterans that are part of the anti-war movement, the better off it is.
Well, I definitely think that's true, because people can think in theory what it's like over there, but you guys can really tell us what it's like over there, because you've been there. So you did 2 tours of duty there?
Yes.
Okay. And so you re-enlisted, or you got called back over there?
No, this was all within my...
Within one enlistment?
With my first term enlistment,
Yeah.
yes.
And then where were you stationed in the United States?
Different places. You know, I was in Fort Dix, New Jersey for a little while, and also in California as well.
Now tell us about what drew you down to Zuccotti Park and the Occupy Wall Street.
I always felt, since I left the military, that there needed to be some sort of mass social movement. I felt that people were being too complacent. I always asked myself, well, there's a lot to be angry about in this country, you know, in our society. There's a lot that is going wrong, and why are people getting upset about it? And this was and so over a few years I was kind of like trying to debate whether or not, you know, if people actually cared, whether or not that if they felt that things were going wrong in this country. But then I came across, by chance, the events happening at Zuccotti Park in Lower Manhattan.
How did that chance occur?
It was more of a word of mouth. I heard from a couple people that the Canadian activist magazine Adbusters was trying to spur up this protest on Wall Street, and it was going to be happening on September 17th, and that, you know, anybody should stop by. And I said, sure, why not? I'll go by and I'll see what it's about. And the first day I went, I mean, it had a sizable crowd, but the day after that, it kind of got a bit smaller. So I was kind of seeing, well, okay, I mean, maybe this won't last too long.
Right, maybe the apathy set in or something.
Yeah, yes, I'll admit I was a little skeptical. I was like, okay, we'll see where this goes. I mean, this has happened before, and nothing much has come out of it. But hey, here we are, one month later, and this movement is already all over the world, and I am still, every day I go to the park, and I'm just absolutely amazed by the immense activity that I see.
Tell me the reaction, because I've seen you in your uniform down there. So you've come in like full dress uniform. What kind of reaction have you gotten when you're there as an Iraq veteran and saying that you're against the war and that you support these goals of the demonstrators?
Yes,
whatever they may be.
Well, on Friday, when there was the possibility of an eviction of the park, I decided to come in my full combat uniform, and just to show, just to kind of make a statement that, you know, this movement is not just a bunch of, you know, dirty hippies or college students or just a bunch of stuck-up, you know, upper middle class white rich kids. I wanted to show the world maybe that, hey, there are war veterans here in this park who support this movement, because I went into the military because supposedly, you know, I was a little patriotic, you know, and and supposedly I went overseas to go defend freedom, and I'm making a statement, well, you know, I'm defending freedom here in America. I want to defend our freedom to peacefully gather and protest, as indicated by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Now, what did you, as a veteran who's returned from war two times there, 2 terms or 2 terms of service, and to go there Saturday and see what the police are doing regarding the protesters there, some of the things we showed on the video, what did it make you feel? What did you think was going on? Is this what you felt, what you were fighting for, or what they told you you'd be fighting for?
I mean, yes. I mean, it's just kind of, I mean, I guess you could say it's a little ridiculous sometimes how the police reacts towards the protesters. I mean, I was even surprised to see a counterterrorism unit in Times Square. And I'm like, is this how the authorities view us, as terrorists? I mean, I thought I was the one who went overseas to go fight terrorism, and yet we're being treated as ones at home.
You're right. It's sort of like maybe you might be, you're being investigated in a way when they're there. Those guys are there. Very good. What is Iraq Veterans Against the War up to? What are they about, the organization Iraq Veterans Against the War, and what are some things they might be doing right now that we should know about?
Iraq Veterans Against the War is basically an advocacy group that mainly supports an anti-Iraq occupation position. And the goals of the organization is that we want all of the American servicemen and women out of Iraq immediately, because there's no point in us being there anyways. It was not go there for the right reasons. We are not fighting there for the right reasons, and people on both sides, civilians and military personnel, are losing their lives for not a very great cause, and it's costing our country, our taxpayers, lots of money.
Well, now they're saying that the U.S. troops are going to be out of the country, or mostly out of the country, by the end of the year. But there's a war going on in Afghanistan. I remember when President Obama was running for office, he said that we should be focusing on Afghanistan. Was that just another lie in the same, the same kind of thing that we heard from Bush, that we have to focus on Iraq because that's the real source of terrorism now? Is Afghanistan the real place we should have been all along, or was it just the same thing, in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, there could have been many things done in Afghanistan in order to, but Obama, by strengthening his efforts in Afghanistan, he made it his war, because where he was hiding all along. Sure. And evidence suggests that he was for many years.
A good ally, a very strong ally.
Supposedly, yes.
The kind of things that, of course, we found out the enemy was in Camp Laos, and we thought we were in Vietnam in 6 other countries,
yeah.
And nobody has ever.
And we forgetting Afghanistan, given the Taliban the time it needed to recuperate, and and now they've come back with a vengeance, and now it's so difficult to try to contain the situation there.
Right.
Now let's give the website for Iraq Veterans Against the War, because if people want to know how to help or just want to know what they're doing.
And by the way, I also wanted to mention that we have the phone number on the screen. We are live. Jerry is with us. He's an Iraq veteran, and he's been down there at Zuccotti Park from the very beginning. We're here to take questions, and you can call us live on 71538-212. It's right on your screen. And remember, there's a down when you make that phone. The veterans know more about Iraq Veterans Against the War. How can they find out?
.org.
w.org. So it's a good place to go. What are some of the activities? We've had hard stories about going to Iraq and trying to operate reparations. Yes, and is that
one of the focuses?
Sure. What are some others?
I mean, we devastated these. The pots.
Yeah, war takes many, many years to recoup from that. That suddenly Iraq is back to its previous.
Because, first of all, since we first invaded Iraq in 2003, we've been able to establish an effective, because we forgot to consider, the previous, social issues that have been prevalent in Iraqi society, and that is mainly the religious divide in Iraqi society between mainly the Shiite Muslims and the Sunni Muslims, and also ethnic tensions, such as between the Iraqi Arabs and the Iraqi Kurds in the north.
Sure. And they didn't take into account any of that. They just went right in.
Well, I mean, they may have known about this, but I don't think they have taken it into consideration at a great extent.
So that leaves a fractured society. What can Americans do, especially Americans who had been there as fighters at one time, do by going back to Iraq, as we know IVAW has been doing with medical supplies and other equipment that's in dire need there? Is that an attempt to try and reach out a hand of friendship of sorts, a real hand of understanding of the situation?
I mean, there's not much I think a regular citizen can do. I mean, but it is a courteous gesture to send medical supplies and to donate money to various humanitarian organizations.
Right. Well, well, talking about like there's not much we can do, right? Because it's such a huge problem. Well, Zuccotti Park, Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street. I mean, also, when the first day we were there, it seemed so few of us against such a big force, and now there's thousands of us, and we're there every day for a month and continuing to be
And
there.
all over the world.
All over the world, hundreds of places all over the world. Has that changed your mind, or has that influenced what you're thinking on the possibility of change, of like real change, not just the superficial change that the president talks about?
Well, I believe, many people that are a part of this movement are very frustrated with the Obama administration because, I believe a lot of people, especially in the younger generation, like say ages 18 to 20, helped put Obama into office because they were very frustrated of the accumulation of the problems that have come to be in the Bush administration, and they really hoped that Obama would change things around, and that just not has been the case in the about 3 years he's been president.
So in part, is that why conservatives and liberals, left-wingers and right-wingers seem to be coming out to this together? It's very rare. They just did a poll. 75–80% of New Yorkers support what's going on in Zuccotti. That's unusual. Even 40% of Republicans are supporting it. So obviously you've struck a nerve. And it seems to be somewhat scary to the Wall Street people because they're getting all nervous and want to shut this down, and they couldn't shut it down. So what do you think? Do you think that this is going to go somewhere? Where is it going to go from here, do you think? Where can it go? Where should it go from here? Maybe put it that way.
The way I view the Occupy Wall Street movement is that I believe that this is going to be used right now as a method of trying to bring about a general social consciousness among the American people of saying, hey, we're here, in this country, we have a problem. And that problem is basically that our government serves the interests of major corporations and not that of the common people. Sure. Regardless if you're on the left side of the spectrum or the right side of the spectrum, our government deceived us by giving out about $700 billion, possibly more, in bailout money to these major corporations for their malpractices. Sure. And that has, struck a nerve with everybody. I think that's what, why so many different people of so many different ideologies are coming together in this park and all over the world to express their frustrations about, this exact problem. And excuse me.
No, that's great.
And it's just a basic injustice.
Yeah, the basic injustice. And we just want to say, okay, we're here to the public to discuss what we can do as a people in order to improve our society, because the reality of the situation is, because of the events of the last 10 years, we're facing massive debt. We are a debtor nation in the trillions. Sure. To many international banks. We are fighting 2 wars on 2 different fronts that we really can't control, and we have rising unemployment in the society. Many people in this country who are going to college, accumulating thousands of dollars in debt, are, for the first time in probably our history, are facing bleak prospects for gainable employment. I mean, a lot of kids who are getting, their bachelor's, even master's degrees, sure, are even lucky enough to get a minimum wage job. And that is not what supposedly the whole idea of going to college in this country is about.
Now you're a student as well right now. You were
yes, I
mentioning
am.
Earlier. So one from veteran to student, and is there still a veterans programs that help you with your college degrees, or do you face the same problem?
The GI Bill.
GI Bill type of thing, or?
I do have my GI Bill benefits, and that, thankfully, it does help me. But that is not the same situation for some of my fellow classmates.
Sure.
Who are borrowing money.
Who are borrowing lots of money, and some of them are soon to graduate. And, I'd say that the young generation in this country really does face a third world existence.
Now, what about the real estate situation? Like, I read an article on the internet that in LA, the Occupy movement had gone out to stop a foreclosure. And that's, again, bank-oriented. So I was wondering, what do you think about those kind of actions to save people's homes?
Well, in this movement, we support the idea of direct action, meaning that, You know, we are not going to depend on legislative procedures to help
Sure.
implement change. Let's go out ourselves and do something about it.
Sure.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case with, did you say Occupy LA?
LA.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that is a great idea. I mean,
Right.
you know, this mortgage crisis that we've suffered has put many, many people out without a home.
And that's what's amazing about this, that you have so many things. You have a veteran, students, people who are facing foreclosure and eviction, people who are
Can't get a
unemployed,
job,
can't get a
right.
job, but are totally unemployed, especially if you're in your 50s. It's like there's, you know, people who worked all their lives are now out of work and have no hope. So you see different, you know, it's not like, you know, maybe when I was younger with these Vietnam protests, almost everybody was young and it was a rock concert.
No, there's incredible
Now you
diversity
see
at
diversity,
Zuccotti Square.
tremendous
yeah, it's
diversity, racial
fantastic.
diversity, ethnic diversity, everybody is there. And in somewhat equal proportions to
And a
that.
lot of support from unions.
Yes, the unions seem to be key to this whole thing. They really were coming out. What's the secret to success of Zuccotti Park, of Occupy Wall Street? Do the folks who are organizing this, who were on there the first day, are they surprised as anybody that it grew as big as it did? Or is there a secret to it?
I don't know if there's a secret. I mean, I think we're all just very surprised. I mean, like I've said before, I'm still in
The
shock.
secret here is
Yeah,
success.
that
as they
it's
say.
happening. Yeah.
I'm still in shock that, you know, it's grown as much as it hasn't, but I'm praising it. You know, every day I go to the park and I'm just so glad that I see as many people.
In the last
are.
few seconds, your message to we have half a minute. Your message to the viewers out there.
I just want to say to the viewers of this show, thank you for watching, and if you can go to Zuccotti Park, please do. It's a 24-hour event going on, and please visit www.occupywallst.org for more information if you'd like to find out more about the movement. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for joining us here on Let Them Talk, and we'll see you down in Zuccotti Park. We're there every day between me and Joni. Hope to see you there as well, and we'll see you again here next week on Let Them Talk. Go to our website. You can see the videos you saw at the beginning of the show there to your heart's content. See you then. Bye.
All right.